Good morning. Good morning, Aileen. Hello, Allie. What's up, Lacey Boots? Hello, Bill. Vicky McSweeney. Good morning, Megan Munley. Some fun, familiar faces. Thank you for having your cameras on. Hello, Amanda Mock. What's up, Brent? Good morning. Good morning. I will just get ready to share my screen here. And we will get going. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the August Sales Mastery Call. This call is I'm so excited about this call because it's called Meeting Your Dream Team, Building Your Dream Team in the Mortgage Industry. And I will tell you that for the longest time, I didn't really ever think about building a team. I just thought about becoming a really, really good technician as a loan officer, like getting good at pre-qualing and reading a credit report, reading income docs and closing loans really fast and understanding products and programs. And it was just survival mode. I got started when I was 23 years old, and I knew that people really wouldn't take me seriously unless I really knew my stuff. And so that caused me to very much be a control freak, also deal with a lot of imposter syndrome and work many, many hours in the dark, meaning there was a lot of behind the scenes studying and scrambling and trying to figure things out while I'm putting on a happy face to clients and customers and realtors as if I totally know what I'm doing. Raise your hand if you can relate to that part of your career. So it's hard to break out of that cycle where, well, if it's going to be done right, I've got to do it. And I need to do it because I need to learn it. And if I give it to somebody else or somebody else touches it, they're likely going to drop the ball or say something wrong to my customer. And so literally for 6 years in this business, I did everything by myself. I didn't have a loan processor. In fact, when my refi docs would come out and go to title, I would drive across town to the title company. I would sit there and grab the docs and sign them with a customer because somehow in my mind, I was better, more efficient than the actual escrow officer at signing the loan docs. So if you are a self-proclaimed control freak or just don't know how to really leverage and work with a team, or maybe you've just need to get back on track and restart some new processes, then this call is definitely for you. So I've got 3 fabulous teammates on the call with me today. We're going to break down 3 different positions. So write these 3 positions down, and we're going to go in this order. First is the loan processing position. Okay. I think pretty much everybody today works with a processor. I will tell you that in my mind, the processor is the most vital person in the transaction. It is the hardest job in the mortgage business. Why? They are the hub of the wheel. Okay. So a processor that's got the right amount of files, that is supported, within their leadership team. So if they need to take a day off because their son has broken his arm, or they need to take a week off, or they all of a sudden get loaded with 7 files in a day, like file management, capacity management really matters so that they can have consistent turn times. Also, there's reasonable expectations for how files move down the pipeline and how milestones are hit. And it's not sloppy and it's not rushes every other second. It's first in, first out with priorities on COEs. Like it's a well-managed process and situation. So a great processor is so vital to your business because, Shannon, right? You've got to please so many people. Processors in the middle, they've got to please the salesperson who want what we want is it to be done fast, perfect, high energy, lots of charm, killer customer service. And even when the deal's ahead of schedule, we want to move it up even further. And, salespeople are hard to please, but that's who we are. Then you've got the underwriter over here, and the processor wants to get an A on their paper, and they want to stack and rack and organize the file properly. And they want to put together a really well-documented, beautiful file for that underwriter and build their reputation as somebody who is conscientious with their work and knows what they're doing. And they've got a good working relationship. And then you got the funder. And then they've got to manage the CD timeline and getting the loan funded, all while trying to appease all the different people in the transaction, including the borrower, the employer, the insurance, the 25 different people we got to chase down to get loans closed. So my first guest today is Miss Shannon Geraldo. We call her Shannon G. She is famous over here. Shannon G has been with us for 11 years. Shannon, I'll never forget the first time I cold called you because you had been referred to me by a loan officer of mine and an underwriter that we had brought over. She was working at a credit union. And I just fell in love with you immediately. You had this positive attitude. You had a can-do attitude. You loved processing and what you were doing. And I love people who have passion. I even was driving down the road. I don't know if you remember this, Shannon, but I was like in the forest with bad service. And I'm like, I'm pulling over because I've got Shannon on the phone. So we've been together 11 years now, but 37 years in the business. How are you still with a smile on your face? Like you still love this, don't you?
I do. But I think that it is attributed to the people you work with, honestly. And I worked with a lot of the same people for a lot of those years, and it just makes life so much easier. You just know people, you understand them. So it's great.
One of my favorite moments, just sidebar, is I love doing team outings, team trips. And one year I took the team to Napa. And do you remember we were at this winery and we all broke into teams, and then we had to like mix different varietals of wine. And like, I don't know, but I think you presented for your team and we had to like name the wine, and we had, and whatever, your team was having so much fun.
We did. It was awful wine, by the way.
Okay. So first I want to talk about your key duties. Like, how do you see your top 3 job duties as a processor?
Yeah, primarily, obviously, it's supporting the loan officer. It's working those loans from beginning to end, from the time they come in till the time they close. That's pretty much where all of my time lies. But then I'm working to help support other processors, whether it's through training or covering them through outages. And then also email. We all know that email, you just are in that whether you want to be or not, but that's a primary job duty for me. I spend a lot of time in there just because that's the way so many people choose to communicate.
So guys, what we decided early on when we were building our branch is like, what is the vision? What are we trying to execute on? And the 3 things we measure is on time, smooth, and customer service. Okay. So me being a super driven, like crazy ambitious person, which by the way, you attract who you are. So Shannon and all of her squad is just as like driven and ambitious because you guys got to imagine if I interview you and I don't totally freak you out, then it means we're kind of wired the same. So our processing crew is actually competitive and they want perfection and I call them gassy. You have a high give a shit index. Okay. Because there's nothing worse than working with people that are apathetic or like you really want it, but you feel like you're dragging people up a hill. I want to be running with a squad of people that want it as bad as I do and that are humble and hungry and they'll take ownership. There's no blaming. There's no finger pointing. And we're like all leaning in to say, yeah, we did great, but how can we do better? And so Shannon, our goal is not 100%, but 95% on time.
Yep.
95% smooth, which we measure by docs to title 3 days early. We believe that if docs get to title 3 days early, that's pretty smooth. You're not skidding over the finish line.
Right.
And then we survey every client and we want 95% customer satisfaction likelihood to recommend. And we measure that over and over and over again. And we work backwards in terms of our SLAs, our service level agreements on how fast a loan's got to get off the loan officer's desk to the processor and how fast it's got to get off your desk to disclosures and to the underwriting submission and on and on. And we've got some incredible dashboards where you can actually see the loans that are falling out of those metrics, which are really helpful. But let's talk about for you now, knowing that that's the big picture and that's the goal. How do you run what's a successful week? When you get to Friday and you're like, I crushed it this week, what does that look like for you?
For me, I measure it on a little bit of a smaller scale. Mine is successful daily. I look at everything that's on my list that I've got to get done. And it's a successful day if I can go back to that list and see that everything's crossed off. I mean, like that's a really big deal for me. I don't feel accomplished if that list is not cleaned. So last night was a bummer. I went home. There were 2 loans on my list to review, and I was just like, oh, dang it. But it's a day-to-day win for me.
Okay. So your goal is to make a list and clear the list every single day.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the process and the cadence. You come in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? How do you run a successful desk that leads these fantastic outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've kind of been running my desk the same way for probably 20 plus years. You learn a lot through the years of how to do it successfully. But I'm popping into my emails first thing in the morning because I think that's a priority. Those emails are going to tell you, do you have loans that have been approved and they're ready for docs? Do you have borrowers, their hair is on fire and they can't wait to speak to you until the end of the day? Do you have LOs that are having questions? So it's looking at my email first thing in the morning. I'm going to add anything that's in that email to my list. Do I need to call back this borrower? Do I need to touch base with the loan officer? I'm going to pull out those conditions that have come in. I'm going to load them into every file, but I'm making a list along the way, like Jones conditions came in, Adams came in. So that's all going onto my list. Then I'm going to jump into the spreadsheet that I create, and it's just a list of loans that I have in my pipeline, and it monitors when they came in, when the appraisals need to be ordered, when the CDs need to go out. And I'm looking at that list. I'm looking, hey, are any of these ready for CD prep? We're looking at 10 days before closing. If they are, I'm adding CD preps to my list for the day. Once I've made that list and really defined what I need to work on, then I'm going to prioritize. So the first thing on my list is always going to be docs out. I'm always requesting those docs first thing in the morning. To me, that's a really high priority. Then I'm going to pop back over to those email responses that I need to send out or phone calls that I need to return to the borrowers or the loan officers. So that's fairly early in the morning. I think that kind of puts the borrowers' minds at ease. They've slept all night and not had a phone call because they're calling after hours. So I think that makes them feel better. It helps the LOs get on with their day when I've been able to answer their questions. Then I'm going to start working that pipeline. I'm going to look at all those conditions that were on my list that I just uploaded to their files, and I'm going to start working them and looking to see if any of those files are ready to go back to underwriting. So I'll start doing that. Once I get through that, then I'm going to determine, are there any appraisals that need to go out to the borrowers? Are there any approvals on that list that I need to address with my borrowers and send out that needs list, the condition requests? Then I'm going to move on to CD preps. That's a little bit later in the afternoon. I'm going to pop those out because they're a little bit quicker. And then finally, every day, it's usually from 2 to 4, it's new loan review. And that doesn't change. I stick with new loan reviews from 2 to 4. I let the teams know I'm going to be unavailable, just getting those new loans reviewed. Because if you sit on those, they kind of get pushed. They kind of get pushed to the back. And then maybe the next day you look at it. And then before you know it, you're not within your SLA turn times. So once that's done, then I pop back into my emails and the cycle starts all over again. So I'm really looking at my emails probably a solid 3 times a day and adding stuff to my list as things come through. I might get a loan approval in the middle of the day. Well, I'm going to add that to my list for doc requests. And if I have time at the end of that day, I'll do it. Otherwise, it'll be first thing the next morning. So it's nonstop. Yeah.
That is fantastic for you to document that. And I think, when I first hired our first processor, and I think Kelly or Gary get it, I can't remember, but one of the things I said is like, listen, the good news is I understand your job because I'd been processing my own loans for 6 years. I was not a loan officer that handed in the napkin and had no clue what happened. Like I was very involved with every bit of it. But on the other side, I was like, but I also understand your job. So I'm not very cool with excuses like, oh, I can't get that VOE or that insurance, right? Like we're going to blow up the phone and we're going to make it happen. And so to meet processors like you that have a system and the way you approach it makes us feel less stress as a salesperson. And I know you're always thinking about, how do I get the loan officer out of the file? How do I really show them that I got this and that they can pass the baton?
Mhm.
So what are some tips for a good working relationship with your loan officer that keep things running smooth and that hit the 95, 95, 95?
Yeah, absolutely. It's vital to have a weekly meeting. So our particular team, we meet on Mondays. We meet for probably a half an hour, and we're going through every loan that's closing that's a real deal in the next 45 days. And then we're touching on any new loan approvals that come out. And we're talking about those files. We're looking to see if there's any weird conditions. Are there any hard conditions that maybe the LO needs to step in and address, that maybe involve the realtor, because as a processor, we don't really want to damage any relationships between the realtors and sales. So we determine, hey, is there anything the loan officer needs to address? Otherwise, going through that, making sure everything looks good, knowing that those conditions are going to get called out. And we talk about, hey, have you gotten any phone calls from the borrowers that we need to talk about? Maybe you got one this morning. Let's talk about it, so I'm not duplicating efforts. And then really just checking on each other and saying, hey, am I doing good for you? Are you appreciating the way that I'm doing my workflow? Do I need to tweak my workflow to work better for you? So even after working with someone for 11 years, we still check in with each other, and I still get feedback like, hey, do you think maybe we could do this? And I might respond, that probably isn't going to work, but how about this? So there's a lot of bending and flexing and just trying to kind of become one as a unit. And I think just having that open line of communication and being honest, you can't be afraid to share your frustrations or share your successes, whatever the case may be. And I just think that's what makes a really successful team and makes us cohesive and productive. So yeah.
Yeah. And own your shit, right? So if you do
Yeah.
make a mistake, because we are humans and we make mistakes, that's for
Absolutely.
sure. Putting your hand in the air and say, I own that. Here's what I'm learning. Here's what I'm doing about it.
Yeah.
And that happens on both sides of the table, right? There's
It
nothing
does.
worse than with the loan officer this and the underwriter that and the process. Like, no, we're adults, we're professionals. We want to win
Right.
championships. We do that together. The other thing is, guys, if you're a loan officer and you are not hosting a regular pipeline meeting
Mhm.
every single week, you're blowing it. Like, that needs to be a sacred meeting. How does that help you, Shannon, to have that meeting? And do you run it, or does the loan officer typically run it?
The loan officer runs it. So she has her entire pipeline up and she's going through every single file. And there's things that she might add to a file, or she might be thinking about changing a program. And without those weekly conversations, it just wouldn't work. There'd be a lot of blind processing, if you will, and then getting something done, and the LO comes back and says, oh, that's not the way I wanted to do it. So when we're having those weekly meetings, we're just discussing everything, different scenarios, maybe things that have happened with the borrowers that we need to know. We need to be a little bit more softer with them because they've had a loss in the family. It's just everything that you can think of on these files. Yeah, and Shayla's right. If you don't do a meeting at least once a week, I think you're missing out on so much, that personal relationship and the success of your team.
Tuesday updates. Do you do those, or does Amanda and Amber's team do those?
I do the updates to borrowers, and then the sales team does updates to the realtors.
So there's generally a true handoff. Once the loan is under contract, they make the strong introduction to you. You're calling the borrower and introducing yourself, and you own the file, chase conditions, resubmit it, do the order outs, all the stuff.
Yep.
Is the loan officer approving your CD before it's sent to the borrower?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone.
And then the loan officer is calling to go over the CD with the borrower in the cash to close, or are you doing that?
Yeah, it'll either be the loan officer or the team manager for that team.
Okay, so sales is going over a CD. Awesome. Capacity. Obviously, you process for Amanda Ray. Amanda was my first LP1, by the way, you guys. Amanda's now been with me for 12 or 13 years now. She has a $70-80 million business. So you process for Amanda. You also process for Amber Coleman, who's the number one loan officer at Gill Mortgage, and not her whole pipeline, obviously. But what do you think is your sweet spot for capacity? Total number of files, number of closings?
Yeah, for me, it's 12 to 15. And that's really only because I have other responsibilities as a team lead. I'm overseeing other pipelines when there's vacations or outages. So 12 to 15. if I didn't have that additional responsibility, I think 18 to 20, it's a good number. It's a push and you're going to be working your tail off, but I think that's a really reasonable number, 18 to 20 for any processor.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Any last things you would say about being successful regarding notes on the file? I mean, what you just talked about in your Monday meeting, by the way, is profound. Like there's several things I just learned that I've never done in my Monday pipeline meeting that was like so good.
Great.
But anything else relative to the file story or notes or things that come to you that help you hit that kind of capacity?
Yeah, absolutely. So any email that I send out or sales sends out, we CC each other on it. So we're always on the same page. It allows a response from sales for any emails I send out to the borrower. The borrower still feels connected. They're not being handed off to just me. They still have a connection to their loan officer, which is super important. And then any phone calls or text messages that I'm doing between a borrower, I'm going to copy that into the comments section in Loan Hub. So that way the sales team's getting that notification that I've talked to that person already, maybe about a difficult condition. I don't want the LO to come back and make that same call to the borrower. That just doesn't look good. So that way everybody's just seeing what we're doing on the files. So there's no questions.
And last, this is a guild thing, but Loan Hub talks to Salesforce, you can automatically update agents. Are you going in before the meeting or after the meeting and putting a next step comment that flows to Salesforce that they can use, or what's your system on that?
No, for me, we're meeting and I'm taking my notes of all the expectations that sales has for me for that particular week, honestly, based on what we've chatted about. So then it's after that I start sending out they're Tuesday updates, but I do it usually on Mondays. And that's when I'm just updating the comment section in Loan Hub. So the loan officer can see really what our next steps are without saying next step. But yeah, they're seeing what's going on, what I'm requesting.
Fantastic. So guys, that's a really great reason to have a meeting, to then have a comment in the file that this is the next step, so that the borrower's Tuesday update, the listing agent, and the buyer's agent Tuesday update are consistent. And this is how you avoid telling stories and covering up, uh-ohs and lies or whatever, is because you're organized and you have this stuff dialed. Shannon, you are a true star. Thank you so much. You've also led a guild nationally. We have a lot of guild all national hands calls for processing and underwriting and by position. And when I talked to Erin Langevin, our national head of ops, and said, hey, I want to interview some processors for the podcast, she goes, well, Shannon G is all the time serving at a national level too. So bow down. Thank you for making us proud in Reno. And thank you for another great year at Guild. I love that we've been together 11 years. Can I get a little clap for Shannon? Was that not amazing? Thank you, girl.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Go ahead and stay on if you can, because we might get into a question there. Next up, we have Miss Marcy Cramer. Marcy supports 5 different loan officers here on my branches in Reno, including the Gifford team, which has 3 LOs. She's been 20 months at Guild Mortgage. Last night we had our team outing and we were out on the boat and listening to some profane music and beautiful country music, Marcy. And she said, thank you for saving me. Thank you for saving me. You've been in the business for 19 years. Why did you say that, Marcy?
Well, we had kind of a team fall apart, and it was a combination of a lot of things, but I had been working with that team for 16 years. And, 2003 came unemployed and found out I'm really, really bad at being on my own and in my own headspace. So I had actually kind of looked at transitioning out of the industry and was pretty far along in going into the medical industry. And then Erin actually popped up and was like, hey, we're going to make something happen for you. Come on back here. And I've just the relief that I felt, because I love this job more than anything I've done in my entire life. I've loved this job. So it was kind of heart-wrenching and heartbreaking to think of leaving the industry. So saving me and bringing me back in and really, I guess, expanding on what I had done before it's been a lot of fun. So that it really saved me in a lot of different directions.
Well, and you've kicked some serious ass, Marcy, and it's been so fun to see. So, this position I like to call a pre-approval manager. So, I think that every single loan officer on this call should have a processor. And ideally, you have a relationship oriented processing system where you're working with the same processor over and over and over again. Now, if you're Amanda Ray and you close 20 loans or 25 loans, where you're the Gifford team and you close 31, you might be spread over two processors, right? But ideally, you're building that relationship with your processor, and that's vital. Again, because if you know your lanes and you know your job and your checklist, and they take the baton and they really own it, the amount of volume that you can push together is unbelievable. But at some point, you run into a challenge on the sales side of the business where you are dealing with a lot of leads and a lot of pre-approvals, and you want to keep growing. And so this is the next step for scale. Some people might go hire a Marcy as their first LOA, right? But many of you are in branches where you need to share resources. You're doing 4 or 5 loans a month and you don't quite feel ready to hire your own sole LOA loan partner. And so I love this shared resource, especially with so many incredible badass people that have lots of mortgage experience out in the world, like Marcy, who feels so happy to be engaged with a great team that values her and works with her. So, Marcy, as a pre-approval manager, what are your top 3 job duties? How do you see your role?
My feet are kind of in both sides. So I, half the time I'm in a processing, kind of assisting that side, and the other half, well, I guess 3/4 I'm in the sales side. So my top priority is just making sure the loan officers have their questions answered. I do a lot of researching, product researching, solutioning for those complicated files where we just need to find somewhere to stuff it into a little box. So I think priority-wise, my first priority is keeping the loan officers on track and have the answers as quickly as they can for those hard things. Second priority is the file approvals and pre-approvals that I issue out. So those are a little bit stronger, so they don't have to sit there and dig as deep into their income or those things. It's going to hit my desk. I'm going to make sure that we have a I always say I'm not going to put a pre-approval stamp on anything that could get suspended. So a little bit stronger on those pre-approvals going out and getting them into, TBD underwriter submission. And then, like I said, my other foot is in there assisting processing. So I'm the underwriter. So I'm answering, getting the direct submits. So I do have that capability, direct submitting them in, which saves the processor time, especially on TBD approvals. They don't have to get in and touch those files until they need to. So that's taking that off their plate until it becomes a real deal. I think that saves processors a ton of time. And just making sure it's getting in front of an underwriter so that by the time they hit the file, they have a better list of things they can work on instead of having to do all that upfront labor. So I think that helps both of those. So that's kind of my top 3. And then, when there's problems in a file, once it has hit the underwriter's desk or the processor's desk, then I'm there to step in and help.
Right on. Okay. So what do you, I know you're a person that wants to leave a clean desk every day, just like Shannon, but what do you consider a successful week? What metrics are you trying to hit, or what makes you feel like, I just crushed the week?
A crush streak for me, I want to make sure, then it's all volume based, but I love to have, a good set of submissions. I want to make sure that I've touched everything within my turn time. So keeping my condition reviews under 24 hours, keeping my new file reviews under 48. Those are kind of, if I've crushed that, and I'm a clean email person. So if I don't have emails when I walk out of my desk on Friday night, there's my weekend. I can breathe through my entire weekend and not have a problem. So it's really kind of turn time based for me is when, I've killed it for the week.
And, we were joking about what we think your capacity is. So right now you're handling about 25 to 30 closings between these 5 loan officers. How many pre-approvals would you say you're touching? Let's just end there.
So my pre-approval reviews have averaged around 50, 55 a month for the bulk of this year. So, and then, funding.
And then how many are you actually direct submitting to the underwriter?
The bulk of our files I'm doing the submissions on. So I cannot, based on our agreements, and service lanes do jumbos and HE loans. So because those go through a different avenue than a normal process loan. So
Sure.
those are going through the old process of submitting through processing. Everything else is going through direct submit. So usually, 17 to 20 a month are going direct to the underwriter first instead of going off of someone else's desk.
And what would you say, what percentage of the 17 to 20 are TBDs versus the actual contract came in and you're submitting direct to underwriter with the contract?
We have oddly had a real uptick. So I was running about 15 to 18 TBDs a month. The last 2 months, we've had a lot of contracting with our builders. So I think those numbers are considerably down. We haven't had time to do as many TBDs because all of our loans coming in from those builders are just flipping to contracts within, like I pre-approve and they're on my desk before I I have a contract before I have time to TBD, which is a good problem to have. But the TBD submissions have been down.
Awesome. Listen, guys, if you want to work with a builder, one of the key things that you can make as a promise to protect them and to make them feel confident that they are going and upgrading a house to this person's wishes with safety is that you get that loan fully underwritten within the first, 2-3 weeks of receiving the contract. Even if the close date is 6 months out, we make the promise to get that loan immediately underwritten as if it was a normal 21-day or 30-day closing. And then that way, it's so much easier to update that customer throughout the build process because you know your underwriting conditions and the builder can breathe easy that you have a true full approval on that loan. Okay, so do not sit on your builder files and have them in a drawer and not get them underwritten. That will cause you so much pain. And even another pro tip is do long-term locks on your builder files. If you want to protect your pipeline from them working with you for 6 months or 8 months, and then all of a sudden going and shopping you 1 month before close, do that long-term lock. You've got peace of mind. You're protected on your pre-approval, and you can always do a float down. It's a really important strategy. So, okay, zero inbox, 24 to 48 hours on getting all your pre-approvals looked at, fully stamped. Let's talk about the process of how you work. Are you talking to customers generally, or is the loan officer gotten the app in and you're behind the scenes looking at docs? So how does that work?
That actually varies based on who I'm working with. So I do have a team with an LOA on it. And so I do not interface with the clients hardly at all. Occasionally there's a borrower, a complex file or something along those lines where I'm going to take over and, actually interact because there's some more specific digging that I need to do. But for the most part, with the team that has the actual active LOA, he takes care of that interaction. So he's talking to the borrower, then he's, giving the good handoff to the processing department. So they don't really see my submission to underwrite. They just see that it's going from the loan officer LOA into the processing team to kind of reduce the amount of people that the borrower has to interact with. So we have noticed the more people that they have to talk to, the more kind of unstable they feel about, well, who's touching my loan next. My other team players that I have that I work with, a lot of them I'm reaching out to the borrowers. So it's going to hit my desk as kind of, here's what I have so far. Can you reach out? I'm working on getting what we need to get it into underwriting. And then when I hand it into underwriting at that point or to processing, I'm letting them know, hey, you're going to be reached out to by a processor here within the next 72 hours. They're going to take your file from here. But please, if you have questions, let me know. I can always help out. And that seems to be the better handoff there as well.
So let me ask you if this is a nice workflow. Taylor Russo has a client on the phone, has a 10-minute conversation, payment goals, cash to close goals, their situation, edifying the realtor, building that trust, and says the next step is I'm going to send you my online application link. He's put the notes inside of Salesforce. He sent the application link to the borrower. The borrower goes and fills out the application. Do you then get it from there to look at it and send the needs list through the portal and then work on getting the needs list and the full pre-approval?
Normally I have at least minimum income docs in the file when they send it or when they task me with a file. So we use Salesforce for them to task me to let me know it's, coming to my desk. So most of the time I have at least minimum income docs. They've taken a look at it, know what the creditor, what have you looks like. I do have occasion where I am taking it just from that application, but that doesn't happen very often.
Okay. And here's what I've learned, guys, in talking to Marcy and everybody that's experienced like Marcy. Whatever you decide, do it the same way every single time. Okay. So if you do it as I just explained, which is send the loan app, put really good notes in there, like this person's self-employed, this person, I'm a little concerned about blah, 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 blah. When the app comes in, Marcy's looking at it with the notes and she's building the needs list inside of the portal and sending it out to the customer, seeing the stuff come back, maybe sending out a second needs list because, we need expanded documentation. And then the appointment goes back to the loan officer's desk for them to say, yeah, this person's fully pre-approved up to 600,000 and blah, 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 blah. That's kind of like the true doctor nurse. The other scenario is the loan officer gets the app, reviews it, and sends out a needs list, and then turns it over. And now Marcy's waiting for that stuff to come in and following it along there. So again, there's no exact way it's got to be. It really depends on the talent and the preference of the loan officer. But I am telling you, the mindset has to be that someone else that sits there all day long doing this and loves doing it is probably going to do it more thorough and better than you, no matter how good of a technician you are. And you need to turn it over and do it the same way every time. So you don't have to remember, well, this one I'm kind of in and this one I'm kind of not and everything else. That will give you peace of mind. That will help you scale. Okay. So we talked about your capacity. Any other final tips on a good working relationship? You work with 5 different LOs, so I'm sure on some days, some of them are on your shit list and others are like getting gold star. Like what keeps this motor flowing and doing it well?
I think it all boils, like always, down to communication. You have to understand how the different individuals work, because every loan officer you work with is going to have a different personality, a different way of working, a different structure. So you have to be really able to, ebb and flow with those. And everyone has bad days, including me. There's days, you come to work, you just don't want to deal with life. So you have to be ready to kind of accept the good days with the bad and just kind of let it roll. You can't have thin skin in this industry. That's 100% sure. So just communication and, taking responsibility for what you do. Like you said earlier in the call, if you screw up, we're going to. Just don't try and hide it. Don't try and bury it. Don't try and blame, because the second you blame game out something, it just causes the whole entire chain to fall apart.
I would 100% agree. And what I would say, guys, is work with your teammate on what realistic expectations are and then build yourself margin. Okay. So, Marcy might say, look, if you give me 48 hours, 95% of the time, I'm going to be able to review it, have notes for you, like clean it up for you. You're going to be able to come in as the doctor and the blood pressure's done and the things are all taken care of and you can razzle dazzle, right? There's going to be that 5% of the time where a file blew up or your health fell apart or who knows what. And that's okay, right? We can all deal with those circumstances. But if I think it's going to take 2 days every time, I'm going to book my appointment for 3 days. Not so Marcy can get sloppy and go, oh, well, I always know Shayla does 3 days and whatever, so that I'm protecting Marcy and Marcy's protecting me so that we can run, we can sprint, and we know we have that margin for a little bit of wiggle room. And then that way I have got peace of mind. I talk to the client, I tell them their job and their responsibility. I give them a deadline. And then I book the appointment when I'm on that 10-minute call for 3 days out. And then everybody knows what needs to happen in those, 3 days, but the goal is to have it done within 2 days. So we're ahead of the game, right? The other thing I would say is having a daily team meeting. So, you were talking about Katie and Evan. You guys sit within 5 feet of each other. So you're not remote. You see each other, you're talking to each other all day long. But like Shannon was talking about, there are times where you need to do a file review in 6 hours, not 48 hours. And so you're adjusting your priorities because there's communication every single day on what appointments have been booked, what's coming in, what went under contract. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm really lucky that day. The bulk of my loan officers are in office, and the other ones that I don't, we communicate whenever we have files. So it is very important to stay on top of that, because, and especially when you have a bulk builder business like several of my loan officers have right now, you have to know when things change with the builder. Like, you could be on a loan officer can be on a builder call on Monday and find out they need to have an update by Tuesday. So making sure that you're consistently keeping on the same page is really, really important, especially when you're sharing, with other loan officers.
Fantastic. I think that we handled questions, but guys, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. Joanna asked, how many pre-approvals and loan structuring can you do in a month? And you're saying roughly 50 to 60 is your preference.
Yeah, that's been pretty good. I've had a couple of vacation days and haven't had to really stress about it. So that's really a target for me, is to make sure I try and stay up in that range.
Fantastic. All right. So this is Marcy Cramer, pre-approval manager. This is a fantastic role. Marcy, you absolutely crush it in this role. And it's so fun for me to see that you're loving it. You're dedicated, you're gassy, you're leaned in. You're always learning too. Like you pick up the phone to underwriters, you like get in the weeds and figure stuff out. You're excited to learn new broker options too. So super value add. And this is what a great teammate looks like in that role. So thank you, girlfriend.
Very much. Thank you.
All right. Next up, I've got the fabulous Steph McDowell. Steph came to us 7.5 years ago with zero mortgage experience. By the way, most of the people that I've hired and grown this branch, because I started at Guild in 2009 with just me in a backpack. And for the first time ever, I was going to hire a processor. And for the first time ever, I was going to hire an LOA. And then once I developed my team started training the next team and the next team, the next team. But I will tell you guys, in the beginning, I interviewed people who had experience, and no one would come to work for me that had experience. And it was probably because I was unproven. I was 28 years old. I was in this like funky green carpet backdoor office, and I didn't know what I was doing. I never had a team before. So I went out and built this business with people with zero mortgage experience. And Steph is a fantastic example of somebody that has hustle, that has heart, that has commitment, is such a team person, and has learned to be a fabulous mortgage person. So Steph, thank you for your 7.5 years with us. I put in here LOA lead admin, but like what I want to say is that you're like an LOA level 4. Okay. When we hired you, you were probably an LOA, not even an LOA. You were a TC, right? Transaction coordinator, because you weren't licensed. And so you start as a TC, you have very limited knowledge or no knowledge, and we give you a very small scope, and you learn that, and we expand the scope, and then you get licensed and you expand and expand and expand. And today you and Tasha are a super duo. Tosh continues to earn President's Club, Chairman's Club, and you guys do builder business and realtor business and have a lot of past clients. Tosh has been at Guild for over 12 years as well. And at one point you guys had a bigger team, and you had like 3 of you on the team, and now you've been to 1 on the team. And at another point, when we didn't have capacity, like you volunteered to help onboard all these Cherry Creek people and join the training department. And so I love that about you, Steph, that you've kind of meandered and grown and filled in and had just this amazing attitude all the time. So thank you for being on today.
Yeah.
So this lead admin role, this is my dream for every loan officer. My dream for every loan officer is that you're doing 7 to 10 loans a month, and you have a lead admin that's solely focused on you and your business. And you've got a killer relationship processor. That's a given, even if you're doing 2 or 3 loans a month. And at some point you can tap into a shared pre-approval manager. Those are those 2 positions that I would fill first. But when you get a Stephanie that's high-fiving you every day, that is meeting and talking with you all day, every day, that's speaking your language and walking your walk and knows your realtors just as well as you do, and can be your body double when you go on vacation, and that you genuinely love and have fun with, oh my gosh, this business is great. Am I right? I think I have Tosh on the call. I mean, Tosh, how fun is it to have Steph every day?
Oh, it's the best.
Okay, she came off mute to say the best. So, okay, what do you look at as your top 3 job duties in this lead admin LOA role?
Yeah, basically just like Shannon and Marcy, I'm like in my email all day. So I'm getting back to whoever had messaged the night before. Maybe someone needs some numbers ran for that we pre-approved. Calling back voicemails and checking Salesforce to see if there's any new leads that have been assigned, that kind of thing. And so those are my top 3, is just getting back to, and then if we have contracts, then I'm working those up and disclosing those and And I also have the ability to direct submit if it's not jumbo or HELOAN. And depending on capacity, luckily we're such a dynamic trio with Araceli, Tasha, and I, that if I need to be working more on pre-approvals, then I can get those contracts over to Araceli to submit those. So
fantastic. So I want to just note that Steph is kind of a perfect blend of a Marcy and a lead admin. Okay. Because they have a processor, and Steph and Tosh, the loan officer. So I want to focus on the lead admin part of the role, because assuming that somebody's able to tap into these other two folks and you hire somebody with no experience, they're not also going to be direct submitting and working on your pre-approvals. Okay.
Right.
So I look for somebody who's smart, charming, and competitive. Steph, what was your background before coming to Guild?
So yeah, before I came to Guild, I worked at a call center for about 11 years, and I was the trainer of the customer service department. And I'd actually done my loan with Shayla back in 2012 in the green office, or the green carpet office. So I knew Guild was a solid company despite the green carpet. I saw that she had moved up in the office space. But yeah, and then I got overlooked for a
promotion
because I didn't have a degree. And so I was the go-to girl, but not good enough to promote because I didn't have a college degree. So I am best friends with Kendra's sister-in-law, and I had mentioned I'm going to go see if Guild has anything, and she put it in Tasha's ear, and Tasha messaged me that next night. So
this is fantastic. Listen, guys, at Slay with Shay, we're going to do a lot of work on team. Today, I don't have time to give you all the handouts of what are the interview questions, what are the emails that you send out to source and find your next Steph? What are the swim lanes so that you can take the people on your team and you can break off the 200 tasks of a loan and actually put somebody's name to the task? We have a deal killer checklist. We've got our SLAs. We've got our core values. We've got so many team resources that I'm going to be giving out at the Slay with Shay event. I'm doing a whole talk on team building, and then I'm doing another panel of 3 more teammates. And so if you've been circling around, should I come to Slay with Shay in September in Lake Tahoe? Yes, please, 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 because you're going to take this to a whole new level. But Steph had the attitude, she had the willingness, she had customer service skills. She just didn't know mortgage. And she had this love for Guild and wanted to be a part of the team. So often your best people are going to be your past customers who were fun to deal with and who really enjoyed the process. It's going to be referrals from a family friend, because they're not going to want to let that family friend down. Right. And Steph, you felt like family from the moment you've been here. And
oh yeah, instantly. It was within the first week, my old boss, was trying to get me to come back. And I was like, no, I think I made the right choice.
and mentioning the college degree thing, because I don't have a college degree and I've been able to grow in this business, it was something that was appealing to you, that this business rewards hustle and hard work, not, politics and degrees and all that crap. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So lead admin, smart, charming, competitive, great with customer service, culture fit. Okay. And number 1 job duty is to convert leads.
Yes.
And work a lead tracker. Mm-hmm. So tell me about how you work the lead tracker with Tosh, and what's your attitude around follow-up and the whole process.
So we have a spreadsheet that we use to keep track of our leads, and then we're always writing down who our hot shoppers are and following up with them every week. And I've been using outreach a little bit more. That's become a fun little tool to use to help me keep on track with our hot shoppers. And that's pinging me to call them, email them, text with them. And so I'm getting a lot of good feedback, or I'm getting good responses from customers, I'd say, then
fantastic
by using those. Mm-hmm.
So level 1 is you have a lead tracker on your desk and you're handwriting in the lead tracker. That's where I started. Yeah. And I would highlight it. Green means I booked them.
Yes.
Yellow
Yes.
means they're at least pre-qualified. Red is dead. Okay. So if you have no other system, have that system. Then the second level system is like a Google Drive spreadsheet where you can share with your lead admin and you're marking them. But the higher level system is using Salesforce and Outreach, where you can build these follow-up cadences where you can say, this is a warm lead waiting to buy in 6 months. And then you can say, call, text, email. You can have them pre-written at the right cadence you want for follow-up. So you get to show up in the morning and you get to clear your outreach tasks, which could be a lead from 2 years ago, or it could be a lead from yesterday. And you're just simply doing what it says. Text this one, call this one, email that one. Is that correct?
Yep.
How often are you and Tosh going over the lead tracker to see what you got to do to convert the people who haven't converted? Or let's do that first.
So we look at that because we meet on Monday mornings. And so depending on, what had happened through the week, obviously we're looking at mostly contracts, things that we came in, but then by like Wednesday, Thursday, then we're looking at who can we follow up with. And
your team is famous for this hot shoppers, which is, by the way, fully pre-approved buyers, you guys. So you have to know what you consider and classify somebody that's a lead or a referral, somebody that's pre-qualified, and then somebody that's fully pre-approved and is a hot shopper. Okay. Your biggest indicator of your future paycheck is these pre-approved hot shoppers. And what do you do to follow up with them? What's your guys' system? Because your conversion rate's like, 35% or higher from lead to funded. This has always been a strong suit for you guys.
We're following up on emails that we send just to be like, just checking in. Have you found any houses that piqued your interest and want us to run a payment on? How's it going? Are you still in the market?
I've even known you guys sometimes to go looking for houses for them.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes we're like, hey, this builder that we're working with is offering $25,000, $35,000, you can buy down your rate and this would fit within your payment. Do you want to go, check these out? So, yeah. So
the other thing that I know Tosh and her mom, Deb, before she retired, were really good at is always getting the feedback from the customer. If the customer is saying something like, my realtor's just showing me stuff I don't like, or I haven't been able to get a hold of Amy for the last 3 days, that you guys have built a relationship with the realtors to say, hey, I want to be able to give you feedback without hurting your feelings, because sometimes they'll share stuff with me that they won't with you. And we're a team, baby.
Yeah.
So you're getting that feedback and calling the agent going, hey, hurry up and go show them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So now so that's the lead admin. A lead admin is going to be following up with leads. My SLA on my team has always been within 4 hours. The goal is to have them booked on the calendar within 3 days of a pre-qual, right? That's that way I have that buffer in the middle to collect all the documents, get it pre-approved, so that when I'm meeting with that client face-to-face for a pre-approval meeting, I can really be on show. We can be discussing all the different loan programs. We can go through a mortgage coach TCA. We could be talking about their fears and hopes. We can pull up the market and look at strategies. We can, I can advise the client, because it's in that pre-approval meeting, guys, where they decide whether or not they're going to work with us. Are you competent? Are you reliable? Do I like you? Is your company trustworthy? That's what happens there. So all the work leading up to that is super important. Are you doing a lot of work giving any kind of lead reports to the agents, or following up on old leads to agents, or HomeBot or anything like that to help agents?
We do have HomeBot, and I know some of our agents have partnered into that. And we just have such good relationships with our core agents that they're reaching out to us. Like, I just ran into an agent last night out having pizza, and she's like, oh, hey, I talked to so-and-so. She's probably going to be calling you again. So that's, a great thing that we have such good relationships with the agents that we work with.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you build these reports right, you manage a lead tracker, you update the stage constantly, you put them on your sequences, you can now be really confident to an agent that, look, if there's any chance of you getting paid, I will make sure to get it done, because no one will track your leads like I do. Nobody will follow up like I do. Nobody will run through the exhaustive search of all the loan programs possible. I know you and Tosh are geniuses at going, how do we make this qualify?
Yeah.
So I think that's fantastic. Okay. I wanted to just see what makes you a success. What's a successful week for you? How do you leave feeling like, oh, I nailed it as an LOA?
So just also like Shannon and Marcy, I love scratching things off the list. So if I'm able to, even in my day, just I write down what's, most important. If I could scratch off everything on that list, that's like a great way to end my day.
Fantastic. Everybody's list people.
Yes.
We are achievers. We like to knock it off the list. And what's your guys' goal for number of pre-approval meetings each week, like butts in the seats?
We try to have like 5 to 10, I'd say.
Cool. So one thing that anybody in that lead admin role, guys, you could metric them to death. Well, here's how many leads. Here's how many call attempts. Here's the lead conversion to credit pull. Here's the lead conversion to app. Here's the lead conversion to funded. What I realized is that in order for your team to feel successful, they need to know the one metric that matters most to you, or maybe 3 total. And for me, I realized that the number one indicator of future success is butts in the seats. It's pre-approvals, right? So whether we had to make 100 cold calls, or whether we had to sift through a bunch of crap Zillow leads, or whether we got to talk to 3 leads and get 3 pre-approvals, if my goal is 3 pre-approval meetings per week or 3 butts in the seats per week, that was a successful week, however we got there. So rallying your whole team about that one metric will continue to build your business. I know you guys work on theme days. So, Monday, Tasha's calling realtors. Tuesday, you're doing Tuesday updates. Are you guys doing the Tuesday update? Are you doing to the agents, or is Tosh doing that as the LO?
Tosh is doing that.
Tosh is calling the agents. And then you're mostly doing all the lead follow-up and the TBD follow-up.
Yeah.
And then you're now, as a super LOA, able to take that pre-approval. And are you, once the app comes in, Tosh talks to them, are you the one that's looking at the income docs and structuring it and doing the pre-approval for Tosh?
Yeah, I'll get it all ready to go. And then sometimes, because now we have to go sit out at builders, like if she's out at the builder, then, and somebody wants to come into the office, then I'm doing that and meeting with that client and going through their pre-approval with them.
Fantastic. Okay. You're both moms and you both figure out how to work around your kids' schedule.
Yes.
And you've been together a really long time.
Yeah. Super lucky.
Steph, you do an amazing job. I hope you all get yourself to a point of having your own lead admin that chases your leads, that helps you look like a rock star to your referral partners, that does your follow-ups and thank yous, helps you set up your events. It's kind of a whatever it takes to keep the sales engine going. And you've got systems for how you follow up and how you keep your lists organized, and you have a daily team meeting. And I think if you do, your people feel really safe, secure, they have fun, and they stay a long time. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Final slide here is an encouragement to come to Slay with Shay. This is my last big mortgage event. I'm not meant to be in logistical meetings for 6 months leading up to an event. I am meant to be here to coach you, to serve you, to lead my team. And between the podcast, these sales mastery calls, and all the leadership I do with my team, and then Catalyst, my personal coaching program, it's enough. So I am pulling out all the stops. I'm going to give you every resource I can. Team building is a huge focus here, because if you can become a business person, and instead of just Michael Jordan dunking the ball, you can be the Bulls and you can win championships as a team, you become unstoppable. So we've probably got, I don't know, we had some ticket sales last night that I'm off on count, but we probably have about 15 seats left. And that's as of today, August 14th. If you're watching this recording, don't delay. The event is 1 month out. It's in beautiful Lake Tahoe, and you'll get tons of resources and a beautiful event. So I just want to say thank you for being on. I will stay a couple extra minutes if anybody has questions, because I know we went through a lot between the processor role, the pre-approval manager role, and the lead admin role. But for everybody else that has a hard stop, thank you for being here. And go ahead and come off mute and ask any questions you got. Marisha, you have a question here. For someone just starting out on the sales side, what would be your recommendation for improving sales skills? I would do whatever you can to be around other great salespeople. So like we have a weekly sales call and we report our leads, deals, pre-approvals. We share our successes for how we're landing new appointments. We share successes for how we're converting deals that wouldn't otherwise be converted. So be in a sales culture And then if you can, sit your office next to somebody who is in sales and you can listen to them on the phone. When they're doing a power hour, you do a power hour, or work with a management team that hosts daily hustles and power hours like we've done. There's no substitution for just going for it. Like, go door knocking, like our new LO, Jeanette, went this weekend, got 7 leads door knocking because no one was walking into an open house. And she said, I'm going to go door knock. Cold call realtors. Why not? I mean, the only way you're going to get used to the nature of it is to just lean in and do it. Amy Rowe, so pumped for Slay with Shay. MC, excited for you to be coming from Kentucky. Anybody else have a question? No one? Free to ask. Jackie Hurtis, was this helpful for you?
This was awesome.
Good. What was your key takeaway? What position did you need to understand the best?
The LOA admin, the front end part of it.
Yeah. So what I'm going to detail out is level 1, 2, 3, 4, because when you hire somebody with no mortgage experience, they've got to nail level 1. They have to know, like, what is their expectation within 90 days? Within 90 days, I want you to be able to do X, Y, Z. Within 6 months, I want you to be able to do X, Y, Z plus ABC. Within a year, you'll be able to do this. Within 2 years, you'll be able to do that. I would say within 2 years, minus maybe submitting direct to underwriting, because that's a whole nother level. They should be able to take a full lead, take a full app, know all the right needs list to get, run all your DU, run all your LP, do a pre-approval meeting for you. 2 years, you can really, really, really have a high level of proficiency in this business with volume. After 90 days, they should be able to take a good weight off your shoulders so that you can run the same process every time and have these meetings booked with the right amount of time on your calendar to be ready to go. So I'm going to detail that so that you have a roadmap for your people, because it's really hard as a leader if we don't give people a roadmap and expectations, and they don't know truly what makes us happy and what we want. Would that help you?
Yeah, absolutely. And since you and I last spoke, you said give her goals on like how many appointments. And so just telling her we need minimum of 5 pre-approval meetings a week. Now she's like, oh, we have 7 for the week. And she's getting fired up about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to know what the W is. What is the win for the week? Cool. Thank you. Amanda Mock, was this helpful?
Yeah, it was super helpful, actually, a lot.
What was the position you most needed clarity on that helped?
Processing. I think I need to become more tight with her.
There you go. Good. I forgot I have a builder meeting. I got to go, you guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Bye, guys.